The isometric contraction. You may know this as the plank perhaps, but that's about it really. You don't really hear about it as much, well, depending on who you train with or the level of understanding that one of your trainers have had. Isometric contraction is actually probably one of the most important types of contraction. As we know, there's the isometric, concentric, and then eccentric. Concentric being the one that contraction and the one eccentric that lengthens. Again, I always refer to the bicep because it's very standard, basic. When people think about working out, they initially think, curling. So I like to focus on, use the bicep as an example. But again, this can be applied all over the body, right? So an isometric contraction, as you know by the plank, is you're holding that position, right? You're holding that plank and you're contracting. Every part of your body is contracting, and it's not changing the length of the muscle, right? Which is what happens when you're concentric and then eccentric. So that actually recruits more muscle fibers, all right? So the muscle fibers are what really make up the entire muscle, right? When you talk about the prime mover, without getting into a very, very fine detail. So, which speaks to me is, if that's going to be the one that recruits the most out of the concentric and eccentric, then why don't we do it more often? That's why I like to implement it towards the end of your workout, because action is more fun, of course, rather than just holding a pair of dumbbells. So what I like to do is, if I'm going to do the bicep curls, I'm here and I'm curling and I'm doing, and again, notice here I'm going towards the peak of the bicep, not necessarily all the way up here, because what happens, the elbows start to swing forward, or we start using our shoulders. So let's say I'm going at the peak. Right when I hit 10, boom, I freeze. And I'm contracting. I'm holding. Count to 10, count to 15, 20, whatever it may be. But really hold that. And you're really recruiting more muscle fiber towards the end of your workout when the muscles are the most depleted. Just like you can actually use it, as you'll see in another video where I use the alternating isometric contraction technique. So you're also known as the AIHT, alternating isometric hold technique, right? So where I could have the dumbbells in this case right here, and I'm holding one isometric the entire time, and I'm curling the other, goes back to hold, and I'm curling the other. Again, all about technique here, right? You're in that, we talked about that range that we were talking about earlier, where you can tell yourself you're going to do 10, but at the same time, if the technique's not there and you're swinging and you're using momentum and gravity and you're really not putting as much tension as you can on the muscle, you're not getting as much as you can get out of the reps you just did. And the biggest thing I want is for people, this is for people who are already working out, who want to implement something that's more efficient. If you're already going to put in the time at the gym, you might as well do it right. If it's going to be outdoors or wherever you do, you want it to be right, and you want it to be effective and efficient. So that's the idea, folks. Think about isometric contraction, whether you're doing pull-ups, push-ups at the end of the workout. Use an extra 10 seconds to hold that at the peak where the muscle is working the longest. Always a pleasure, guys. All about the people. Feel free to come back in and tune in to the Ruben Fit Kanya YouTube channel and RubenKanyaFitness.com. Pleasure.